Hi guys! Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to bring you a very requested video, and that is another family ghost tale. Today I'm actually going to tell you kind of a series of paranormal incidents that happened in a specific place in my parents' house during the last 30 years that they've lived there. And that room or place that I'm talking about is their basement. Now when I say basement, you guys might be thinking of like the basements in your house, which might be unfinished basements, which usually have like cement walls and cement floors. The beams are showing, they don't really have, drywall or whatever up. That's the kind of basement I have in my house here. If you have a finished basement, you're lucky because you can like live down there and do activities down there or whatever. Normal activities. I do my laundry in my basement, but whatever. I would not do anything else down there because there's bugs and spiders. But my parents' house is very old, you guys know that, and their basement is actually something you would call probably a cellar from the 1800s. And let me tell you guys about this basement. It is very freaking scary. It is a dirt floor, and the walls are kind of like, you ever see a foundation of an old house where it's stone masonry from like the early 1800s? That's what the walls are in the basement, original foundation, and it is just creepy as hell. The walls are really low, the ceilings, and for a claustrophobe and someone who's afraid of spiders, it's not the nicest place to be. I myself have gone down there by myself to investigate a little bit. I've never gotten any EVP or anything down there. What I've gotten down there is the hell out of there because of the giant spiders that are down there. I mean, they're freaking huge. I don't like spiders, guys. So now that you got sort of an idea of what the basement is like, my parents actively have used their basement over the years. You could still go down there and do stuff. Why not? I mean, whatever. I think the first incidence of something paranormal that happened down that basement was something my mother told me a few weeks ago. I think it was on Memorial Day weekend, and we were all talking about paranormal stuff, and we were telling my niece's boyfriend about some of the stuff I do on YouTube and some of the stuff that happened in the house. And she said, something happened to me in that basement when we first moved in here. And when they first moved in there, they had like original plumbing in there, so in order to put water in the heater to heat the water up, they had to actually manually put it in there. So they had to turn the valves or something. I don't know how it worked, but they don't have to do that anymore. But she was down there putting the water in the furnace, I guess, I don't know how it works, to make hot water. And when she was done doing that, she started heading up the stairs. She got like up 3 stairs, and all of a sudden she heard something freaking walking up the stairs behind her. So as she kept taking a step, something was taking a step behind her. Now the way she put it was she effing booked her ass up those stairs, slammed the door, and never looked back. I think I would have done the same. Now my sister was actually down there. This happened, I think it was in the late 80s, so she was a teenager, and my brother had a band, and they used to practice down in the basement. Now you go down the basement stairs, and off to the left was a room that we called the dungeon, just for shits and gigs, and off to the right is like the actual basement. It's, where you walk and it's open, and then there's this little hole kind of room with an open door, and it's just blocked off with like kind of wood, but it's an actual room. And she was sitting on the basement stairs listening to my brother play with his band in the dungeon room to the left. So as she was sitting on the stairs there, she had a clear view of that other room that I just told you guys about off to the left with the door that's actually open, and she said she saw at the corner of her eye some guy walking. So she looked, and the guy actually walked right into that one open door room and disappeared. So the last thing I'm going to tell you that happened down in that basement is what I think is the creepiest thing, even though seeing an apparition walk into the little room was, I would have been like, I'm not listening to this band, I'm getting the F out of here. But I find this story, what I'm going to tell you now, to be pretty freaking creepy, and I don't know how my brother and dad dealt with it and stood down there. This was actually just a few years ago, and they had a little workstation down in the basement, and they were working down there with my uncle. And this was in the dungeon room that I told you guys was off to the left from the stairs. And they were down there and they were just busying themselves. And all of a sudden, my brother felt someone pinch his leg. Like, just a pinch. And he's like, hey, cut it out, because he thought it was my uncle. And my uncle's like, you know, you didn't see me get down and pinch your leg. What are you talking about? It was probably a muscle spasm or something along those lines. And so my brother's like, okay, you know. So a couple seconds later, my dad's like, stop pinching my leg, because someone pinched his leg. And they say that that went on throughout the entire night between my brother and dad. They got pinched 10, 20 times between them by some unknown, unexplained entity or whatever down in that dungeon hole. The entire night they were down there doing work. I will not go in that basement anymore. Not only spiders, but I don't want to get pinched and stuff like that. I just want to add to this video another little kind of phenomenon that always happens in my parents' house, and that's something that we call the hot spot. Now the hot spot is one seat in the kitchen where somebody always has something paranormal happen to them. And I know that this sounds like it's kind of like mean to some people, but when we have new members of the family or just friends that have never been in the house, we generally like to sit them in the hot spot to see what happens to them. Now what the hot spot is you know how there's a table and you have one seat, two seat, the head, and the two seats over on, you know, the far side? The hot spot is the seat on the left on the far side towards the kitchen door. So when people sit in that seat, always you see somebody walk in the kitchen, because the kitchen door is 2 feet from you, from the hallway. You always see someone walk in the kitchen, walk behind you, walk towards the sink, and then you go look towards the sink and nobody is there. I have had that happen to me dozens of times in my life. My brother's girlfriends, my sister's boyfriends, people I've dated, people who are just friends of the family have come in and sit in that spot and have seen that dozens and dozens of times. And to be honest, the last time I've seen that was probably a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago. Touching, we always get touched when we sit there. Either you get a tap on the shoulder or maybe a little push or a pinch. I've never been touched in that spot. However, I did get touched in that kitchen. One day, it was actually right before I left and moved into my own house. So it was only about 4 years ago. I've been living in this house for 4 years now. And it was that winter actually before I moved out, in that summer. And I was online on the computer in the living room, so I decided I want a cup of tea. I got up and I went into the kitchen. Now, right beside the table, my mom has like a china cabinet set up, and that's where we had the tea. So I walked over to the china cabinet, and all the way on the left side is where the tea was, and I opened the door to get the tea, and I took out the box of tea that I wanted, and I went and I closed the door. And from behind me, I felt two hands on my shoulders shove me right into the china cabinet. And I mean, I hit the glass of the china cabinet. I was like, whoa, what the hell? Now, I thought it was my dad being funny. No, my dad doesn't go around shoving us in the freaking glass as a joke, but I don't know. I thought my dad was just, you know, being funny and, hey, I'm gonna shove you. So I turned around and laughing and looked, and I expected to see him there, and no one was freaking there. And I was like, holy shit. That was the first time I ever was touched by a spirit, and it freaked me out, and I was like, okay. And I actually think I put the tea back that night, and I didn't have the tea. I just went back online and was browsing the internet the rest of the night, and was just like, what the fuck just happened? I've only been touched by a spirit, I believe, twice. If my memory serves me right, it was only twice. That time and the time I told you guys about last in the hall in this house. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will be bringing you more videos very soon. Again, if you have a request for videos, just let me know and I will try my best to get them to you. And thanks for watching. Bye, guys. It's hot. It's getting to be able to do. That's a dog. Hello.